I believe that 95% of what we're going through now has been caused by the federal government's interference in our lives. And that interference comes only because we've ignored the very document upon which this country was founded. Now, having said that, we can debate our founding documents, we can debate a number of different issues, but the truth is there is one straightforward, real question for San Francisco Republicans in this debate. And that is the question, which one of the two candidates here is best equipped to take on the critically important role of facing the most powerful Democrat in the U.S. Congress? My opponent's record is transparent. As she mentioned, she ran in 2008, but first and foremost, we have to understand that my opponent doesn't live in the district. In 2008, when she ran, she raised more money than Nancy Pelosi's 10 previous Republican opponents combined, and yet she got the fewest votes that any Republican has ever received running against Nancy Pelosi. This is an enormous handicap for my opponent to overcome. In contrast, I offer not only a new face to the electorate, but also a new approach for the Republicans, which has energized a new volunteer base and generated contributions and support from around the nation. But make no mistake, the campaign against Nancy Pelosi is a national campaign. It's essential that we select the best Republican for the task.
The next question is from the audience. Do you think the U.S. should be encouraging democracy abroad, and if so, to what extent? To Dana.
That's mine. Actually, I do. Again, I ran against Nancy Pelosi and Cindy Sheehan in the last election, and I remember there was a picture that was very important to me as I ran that race. And it was a picture, and I'm sure you probably all remember, it was an iconic picture of a woman with her burqa off her face with a big smile, and she was holding up her purple finger. I do think that we belong in Afghanistan because that's the real question, and I think we belong in Iraq now until we can make them able to stand on their own.
Yeah, I think this is the problem with the interventionist foreign policies, that there really are no clear answers. It's sort of wing it and do it as you can. And that's one of the reasons why so many of us have decided that it's better just to make sure that Americans are protected and that not one red cent, not one red drop of American blood is spent trying to build nations.
I campaigned last time, and I saw the Cindy Sheehan people, and I know that you have anti-war supporters, and I was very clear when I saw those people that they are the Hate America crowd.
Our history of non-interventionism in this party is long and deep. It is what we should follow, and at the end of the day, we should also listen to Ronald Reagan's comment to us, which was to be that shining city on the hill. And if we do that, we'll encourage a lot more democracies through peace than we will through force.
Would you support renewal of free trade agreements like NAFTA, even if it was clear that significant jobs would be lost? John?
Yeah, I'm not so sure that that not renewing NAFTA would result in job losses. You know, I'm not an expert on it, but from what I've read, NAFTA is far more a managed trade agreement than it is a free trade agreement. I have a deep commitment and a big believer in free trade. Free trade creates wealth. Isolationism does not. If isolationism worked, North Korea would be the wealthiest country in the world. But free trade works. Unfortunately, the NAFTA trade agreement limits things. It allows certain people to get special deals, and I think that it can be reworked, and I think we can have a much better framework for trade around the world.
All congressional Republicans oppose the recently passed health care bill. What would you do to stop the implementation and funding for the Democrats' program?
Okay. Not surprisingly, I was also opposed to the health care bill. I think there are a couple of things that we have to take into consideration. Of course, I also, the day that it went into law, I put up on my website that I made my pledge to work to repeal it. I think from a practical point of view, it's going to be difficult to do because we will not have a veto-proof, even if the Republicans won the House and won every Senate seat between now and 2012, we wouldn't have a veto-proof Senate. So I think that the light at the end of the tunnel is, fortunately, has to do with the states' rights and going through the legal system. The good news there is, of course, is that what they've done, what they've pushed on us, is utterly and completely unconstitutional. There's no time in American history where we have been compelled to buy something. We are forced to buy something, not just under penalty of fine, but penalty of imprisonment.
I would also bring up, though, I do think it would be good to go back to the beginning and do what Republicans plan to do, which was they proposed 37 bills, despite the fact that nobody ever heard that, and Nancy Pelosi said there was no Republican input.
What do you believe should be the policy towards the 30 million illegal immigrants in the United States?
We have to start repealing the mandates that attract illegals here in the first place. The first and the biggest mandate is birthright citizenship, which was implemented with the 14th Amendment. That's something that we can just excise. We can excise that birthright citizenship clause out of the 14th Amendment. All the other mandates that attract folks here to live a better life, I think we can cut them off. We are losing hospitals in all these border towns all along the Southwest, because they're being overrun with people demanding and requesting services. And I think that we need to also take to task the United States government for not doing a better job in getting legal immigration more streamlined and more effective. We have to have a good system that rewards people for getting in line, and we cannot reward people who don't. Now, there's also the legitimate question of Ms. Walsh's fundraising. If you look at her FEC report, it shows that she has spent 90% of the money that she raised on fundraising itself. This is exactly what she did in 2008. This is not money going to fight Nancy Pelosi. This is money that's going to commercial fundraising firms in Virginia and Ohio.
You know, John, you know that at this point in my campaign with my fundraising, you know very well because you tried to get my fundraisers to work for you and they wouldn't. What happens in a campaign like mine is you spend that money in the beginning and you get that money to spend toward the end of the campaign when you need it to fight Nancy Pelosi. But the question is not who is going to be most upsetting to Nancy Pelosi. I think the big question is, who do Republicans want to have represent them? Because I think they don't want a candidate who advocates things like, I think he could be made kind of a laughingstock. He advocates abolishing the IRS.
If you feel the single most important fight we face this year is to reclaim Congress, then you have to understand that San Francisco in this battle is ground zero. It begins here in the home of Nancy Pelosi. Republicans have to do better in 2010, and I think the choice is clear. You can support a candidate whose 2008 campaign speaks for itself, or you can vote for a candidate who's helping to build our party by registering new voters, helping to build our party by enlisting new volunteers, and energizing our base in San Francisco. You can select a nominee who actually lives in the district. And most importantly, a candidate whose positions on key issues will not be a barrier to being heard by the tens of thousands of independents and moderate Democrats whose votes we need in order to win elections in San Francisco. Republicans in San Francisco can have a great year in 2010, but only if we choose the right candidate challenging the most powerful Democrat in Congress. I humbly submit that I am that candidate. I'd be honored to have your support, and I ask for your vote.